Karibuni tena wapendwa watazamaji katika kipindi chenu mnachokienzi ukweli wa habari, na hii ni DTM TV Enyanya ikiwatangazieni moja kwa moja kutoka nchini Denmark, na mimi ni wenu wa kila siku mnayemwenzi Elijah Meru. As you can see here today, we are planning to talk about leadership, age and education. Tutazungumzia leo kuhusu uongozi, umuhimu wa masomo na muhimu pia wa umri. Lakini kabla hiyo basi tuweze kuburudika kwa pambio hii, alafu turudi tukiwangoja waimbaji, tukingoja wengine. hao basi walikuwa ni waimbaji ambao wameimba wimbo huo, ngoma hiyo ambayo inaitwa Usiogope. Usiogope kwa sababu maisha haya ambayo tunayoyaishi ni maisha ambayo ni kama safari, na safari yenyewe ni barabara ambayo inakupanda inakushuka, haiko straight line. Kwa hivyo inahitajika zile kitu tunaita uwezo wa uongozi, kiongozi, yani uweze kuyaongoza hata kama ni maisha yako, uweze kuyaongoza maisha wale watu wengine ambao wako karibu na wewe. Na watu wengi wanaongea sana siku hizi kuhusu leadership au uongozi ukitaka, na kwa njia moja au nyingine watu wengi huwa wana shangaa au huwa wanadai na kutamka jambo hili, mimi ni kiongozi, mimi ni kiongozi, mimi ni kiongozi, fulani ni kiongozi. Lakini kiongozi ni kina nani? Nitaka tu tuzungumzie mambo hii ya uongozi kidogo leo, ili hatimaye tuweze kuangalia, kwa sababu watu wengi wanasema ya kwamba Afrika iko na kila kitu ambacho inahitajika. Maana kipindi hiki mara nyingi tunaangazia mambo ambayo yanatuhusu kama Waafrika, wale ambao tuko ndani ya nchi na wale ambao tuko nje ya nchi. Na wengi wanadai ya kwamba matatizo makubwa ya bara letu la Afrika ni kwa sababu ya uongozi. Tunao viongozi kama sio wabaya, tuna viongozi wale ni waoga, tuna viongozi wale ni wabinafsi, tuna viongozi wale ambao wanajipendelea. Na nimejaribu kufikiria jambo hili sana, kujaribu kujiuliza ni kwa nini. Na hii ni kwa upande wa siasa, utapata kuna makesi nyingi tu, watu wanajitajirisha, mambo mengi yanaendelea katika nchi mbalimbali. Kwa upande wa kidini pia utapata kwamba kwenye makanisa, kwenye misikiti na madhehebu kuna ripoti za ajabu ajabu. Kwenye makanisa yale watu wanajitajirisha kwa migongo ya watu wengine, wahubiri wanaendesha mandege na magari za kifahari, wanaishi katika nyumba za kifahari, wakati watu wao ambao wanawafuata wanaishi nyumba za kimasikini. Na haya yote tunajiuliza, kwa nini maisha yakiwa namna hii katika ule upande mwingine wa ulimwengu? Na mambo haya ni mambo ambayo nilifikiri kwamba ni vizuri tukaweze kuyazungumzia kwa pamoja, tukaweze kukaa chini kuyaangalia ni yapi ambayo tunaweza tukajifunza mawili matatu. Ni kweli wakati mwingine wakati nikiongea wanapenda kutikisika sana, na wakati mwingine napojiangalia baadaye na kuja kuona kwamba inasumbua macho. Kwa hivyo nitajaribu kukua static kidogo, ili kwamba niwapatie nafasi wale ambao mnanitazama, nisiwachoshe macho yenu. Na nimefikiria hili kwa sababu, kwa mfano ukiangalia kuna video nyingi ambazo zinatembea, na ninapozungumza maana nasema kwamba katika familia, wale ambao wanatokea kuwa viongozi katika nchi, wale ambao wanatokea kuwa viongozi katika makanisa, wale ambao wanatokea kuwa viongozi katika kampuni au mahali mbalimbali, wanatoka katika jamii, wanatoka katika familia. Na humo katika familia pia kuna uongozi, kuna baba, kuna mama, kuna mambo kadha ndani ya hizo familia. Na ukienda kuangalia kuna picha kidogo kidogo ambayo zinatembea mtandaoni, zingine labda unaweza kuwa umeziona, na ningetaka kwa pamoja tuweze tukaangalia maneno haya ili kwa pamoja tuweze kuelimishana. Lakini kabla ya hapo tufuate tangazo hili, halafu tuweze kurudi.
Je, una biashara yako na umesumbuka sana kuitangaza? Usiumize kichwa. Huu ni wakati wako. Fungua www.dadog.com kisha jisajili uonekane katika ulimwengu wa biashara na kutangaza biashara zako tofauti tofauti Tanzania nzima na duniani kote. Mfano, biashara ya mavazi, viatu, mabegi, mahoteli na kumbi mbalimbali. Kumbuka ni dadog.com. Dadog, transforming lives.
Asante tena kwa maneno hayo, na tunakushukuru sana kwa kuwepo hapa. Kuna wageni wetu ambao tunawasubiri ili kwa pamoja tukaweze kuendelea katika maneno haya. Lakini kabla ya hayo, kwa sababu leo ni Sunday, Gospel Sunday, tufuate waimbaji hawa pia alafu turudi.
Mungu irwara bapeti aba mukulu mwami w'abantu. Kwa kweli Mungu anabapeti Ebyajira wewe Sina kasonga Abukaramokani Oyo Mungu anabapeti Ebyajira wewe Sina kasonga Abukaramokani Ya Mungu wefu zinazungumziwa, abagana, anabahoro n'emirembe, Mungu yo, yekamona bagalagaza, abaliba iba, anabahebenyewe, okunjebe y'omwami we, oyo tipara bapetia, ebyajira sinakansomera ya, onkalamokani, aimeru mushike we, aimeru mushike we, aimeru mushike we, aimeru mushike, 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 aimeru mushike. Arabapeti mwami we, aimeru mushike, yegarukira mulambi, achibage peti Israeli we, baraka ikire, ile nyanja ndukula, achibage petu yotipe, sarara kapatiro mwana, okumyaka yage, araba peti, achibage peti, bakongomani we, singa rohwire we, araba peti, kumbe aimeru mushike we, aimeru mushike, aimeru mushike we, aimeru mushike we, aimeru mushike we, aimeru mushike, aimeru mushike, aimeru mushike, aimeru mushike, aimeru mushike, aimeru mushike, arabapeti, yechokola Mungu wiru, yenamubaho, yechubaka Mungu wiru, mukula shonyi, kabanyumbo buzire, arabapeti, akuhayo, orayo bohaga, kabamulubo buzire, orayo bohaga mwenewi, akuhaye, mulya arabapeti, aimeru mushike we, aimeru mushike, aimeru mushike we, aimeru mushike we, aimeru mushike, aimeru mushike we, aimeru mushike.
Asanteni sana kwa waimbaji wetu hao. Nasema ya kwamba leo tunajiuliza na tunaongea kidogo kuhusu uongozi. Uongozi ni nini? Uongozi ni kitu gani, na kwa nini watu wengi tuna matatizo na jambo hili la uongozi? Nilikuwa namfuata baba mmoja leo, labda nianze na yeye. Anaitwa PLO Lumumba. Kwa wale ambao ni wakereketwa wanaofuata siasa za Afrika wanamjua huyu PLO Lumumba kwa maneno yake makali anavyoongea kuhusiana na Afrika. Tumfuate kidogo alafu tuweze kurudi.
If you should see the convoy of an African minister, not a president, I'm not touching the president. The presidents are in a different world. The African minister. The African minister will never queue. Oh, he's anathemic. Oh, the African minister is a demigod. Oh, Africa. The African counselor in your rural home, when they go to churches, not even if it is not their denomination, they saunter to the front seats. And even our latter-day clergymen will invite them to share their wisdom with the people, even if we know that they are village fools. If there is anything that we must...
Yes. Hello, my brother Mike.
Yes.
Welcome
Hello.
again to our channel DTM TV. Enyanya. Long time, man. We haven't seen you for a very long time.
Yes.
I hope you have been fine.
Very fine.
How is it?
Just been a little bit
over there?
Yes, everybody's doing well. Just been a little bit busy, but all is well.
Excellent. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation and offering to share your thoughts together with us today on issue to do with leadership. Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome.
Yeah. as you can see, we had already started discussing about this issue to do with leadership, and I want to start again because I wanted us to define who is a leader. But before that, I wanted to listen together to this man of God called PLO Lumumba, Patrice Luochi Lumumba of Kenya. He's a lawyer and a brilliant advocate for the Pan-African movement. Let us hear from him, and then we'll be back and let's give some few questions.
If he should see the convoy of an African minister, not a president, I'm not touching the president. The presidents are in a different world. The African minister. The African minister will never queue. Oh, he's anathemic. Oh, the African minister is a demigod. Oh, Africa. The African counselor in your rural home, when they go to churches, not even if it is not their denomination, they saunter to the front seats. And even our latter-day clergymen will invite them to share their wisdom with the people, even if we know that they are village fools. If there is anything that we must learn from Western Europe, is that they have gone through enough problems and they are capable of organizing their affairs, and they have demystified political leadership. We must demystify political leadership going forward. And once we do that, and I think we can do it because I can now begin to see something happening in Africa. Young Africans are beginning to ask searching questions. Africans are beginning to recognize that corruption is a cancer in our body politic. They are beginning to recognize that those who want to buy their votes don't mean well for them. They are beginning to recognize that there is enough money to change their lives if the thieves are eliminated from the political arena. They are beginning to realize that commercialization of politics is a threat to democracy. They are beginning to rise up. And I think that those who have not smelled the coffee will be surprised.
Those who have not smelled the coffee, they will be surprised. Those are not my words, but as you can hear, are the words of a wise man, PLO Lumumba. That brings me to my first question, my brother. As we say that Africa, we are rich, we have all the natural resources possible that exist on this planet Earth, but many people have argued that the problem of Africa is leadership. Now, and I think that is what exactly PLO is saying. Now, my first question to you, what do you think is the problem with African leadership? And or who is the leader in the first place?
Yes, thank you very much for the question, my brother. And to begin with, I would like to greet all your audience and our fellow brothers and sisters from the continent and also in the diaspora. Yes. Well, in simple terms, for me, and my definition of a leader is somebody who is able to be at the forefront for the people to a better destination. Yes.
Someone who is at the forefront of the people for a better destination.
Yes, and therefore he is the one who gets to meet all the bunkers and all the potholes and everything on the road with which he is driving or guiding his people towards. So what he does is to go through and then help them to go through a safer place and a pass. Yes. But like PLO has always been saying, these are so-called misleaders, rather are the ones
misleaders. I love that.
Yes. They are the ones, rather, we are, unfortunately, leading for them because we have been left with nothing but misleadership. And therefore, when it is misleadership, there is no leadership. Yes.
When
So that is,
it's misleadership, there is no leadership. You've said something very important, which leads me to play a video. It has my voice in Swahili, but I think you can still see the picture, and then it will kind of back up what you just said. Let us watch this and then we'll be back. Hapa tunataka kujifunza kidogo juu ya uongozi, na tunaona huyu umbwa wa huyu mzee akitangulia, alafu akifuatwa na mzee mwenyewe, na mzee akiwa na fimbo yake akiwa amewatangulia maelfu ya makondoo hawa ambao wanamfuata. Na hawa kondoo wote hawapigwi, hawa kondoo hawalazimishwi. Kondoo hawa wanamjua mchungaji wao, wanajua sauti yake, wanajua harufu yake kule kwenye anaenda, wanamfuata, ikiwa ishara ya kwamba uongozi ni uwezo wa kuinfluence watu wengine waweze kukufuata katika kile ambacho uko nacho cha kufanya. Ile ndoto uko nayo, wengine wanakufuata kwa sababu ya ile ufahamu wako nayo kukuhusu. Na ukiangalia vizuri katika kondoo hizo, unaona hawa wawili weusi hawa sio kondoo, hao ni mbuzi hao. Na ninaona kwamba kuna wengine pia, wengi tu, wachache tu pia wako hapo ndani kondoo. Mbuzi wengine wako humo miongoni mwa hawa kondoo. Naona kwamba mchungaji alienda kitambo, lakini kondoo hawa ni wengi tu na wanamfuata tu wote. Hiyo mbuzi kazi yake ni kuamsha hawa kondoo wakati ambapo wamelala. Unaona mbuzi wengine ndio hao, ukiangalia vizuri ndio hao wote wanafanya kazi wakitembea pamoja na kondoo. Lakini wakati ambapo kondoo wamechoka na kuanza kulala, basi hao mbuzi wanawasaidia. Naona pia kwamba kuna mwanaume mwingine hapo ambaye anamsaidia huyu baba, na ambaye naamini ya kwamba kiongozi lazima awe na uwezo wa kutrain watu wengine wa kumsaidia. Yeah, those were it was a video that I saw somewhere. Then I made a bit of comment on it and said that you can see it's I don't know what you can say about the video, even though you did hear Swahili, but still have your own comment anyway. I think if you saw that man, yeah, anything you have to say about that, really?
yes, this is what we call a leader who is not misleading the folk. He is a leader leading the folk. So that is clearly what I was saying from the beginning, that in Africa we have misleaders, and therefore we have no leadership. Majority of them. So that is how. Yes, the video clearly speaks for itself. Without much work to be said about that.
As you said, really, that man can be seen ahead of the flock, and he's just going. It amazes me that there are thousands and thousands of flock behind him, but he's not in the middle. He's not in the back. He's ahead of them, meaning that a leader should lead by example. And interestingly, before him, there is this dog. There is this dog ahead of him, and I take this dog as a mentor, somebody who goes ahead of a leader and who watches what is happening. These dogs, they are trained, they can sense the danger and so on and so forth. But even that, the leader is ahead, is putting his life in danger to make sure that the rest of the flock are safe. And the other point I saw in that video is that there were also some goats in between. And those goats, somebody said that they are very important in a flock of so many sheep. You need to have a goat, because the goat, when the sheep, they eat, they have the tendency of sleeping, and they have the risk of even dying. So these goats are very important, that they come every time to pull them out and make them run and be in movement and be healthy. So as to say, like, even opposition is important if you have a very good leader. And at the last, we saw another man behind. I don't know if he was with him or if he was just driving with him, but I assume that he might perhaps be a trainee, somebody that he was training to lead together with him. So Beyonce, you've just joined us, and we're talking about leadership. What do you think who is a leader? Before we talk about the problems of African leadership.
Yes, I think a leader is someone who has a vision. Someone who can show a direction that people can take. This is a leader. Someone who can see something which other people cannot see. This is a leader. No,
Somebody. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I say a leader is someone who can lead other people, someone who has a vision, someone who can see far, someone who can see things that other people cannot see. This is a leader.
This is a question which comes from time to time, and I think we can discuss about leadership before we go deep into what is happening on the continent. Some people tell us that leaders are born. I come from a community where we had kings, and these kings, even here in Europe, we still have kingdoms. Here where we're living, we have a kingdom, which means these are kings who are born. Others argue that you don't need to be born in a particular family to be a leader, but you can be made a leader. What's your take about this, my brother Mike? Do you think a leader is born, or he is made, or is both? What is your point? Your take on this?
Well, I think a leader is made.
You think a leader is made?
Of course, you can be born into a family who had already taken the lead, but then you are groomed to become a leader. Yes, you are groomed to become a leader, and therefore you could be born into leadership, but then becoming the real leader, because you are born by default. It is not no fault of yours that you are born into a
particular family. Nobody chooses where they'll be born. Yeah.
Yes, but then you are groomed to become, because those leaders, those people there already have a vision. Like our brother said, it is all about a vision, and the vision is set for you, so that you are groomed to go towards achieving that vision.
A leader is, if I hear you clearly, then you're saying like, doesn't matter where you're born, it doesn't matter your background, it doesn't matter your family, doesn't matter your skin of color skin, the color of your skin, but you can be made a leader if you learn, if you are groomed, if you are trained. Because this is also a question I've been asking myself. Why is it that even those families which are not kingdom, you still see that there is some kind of inheritance? Like if you look in Ghana today, the current president of Ghana, his father was the president, isn't it?
Yes.
The current president of Kenya, his father was the president. And we had the Bush father and the Bush son and so many other leaders who, for some reason, became leaders simply because they came from a family of leaders, quote unquote. And even the president of Congo today, who happens to be a president, so many people say, I'm not saying much about him, but that it's only the name that he bears that made him president, because he was not known and he lacks so many other qualities of leaders. But the virtue of him bearing a certain name, it made him a leader. Do you think this is an advantage or is it a disadvantage?
It's a big disadvantage. Because if we are to go back and look at all those families who are now bringing out as our leaders, were they born into leadership? No, they were just ordinary common people who had that vision, who had the full vision that we want to make ourselves leaders, and then therefore bring out leadership from our line of inheritance. That is all. So if you look at Kwame Nkrumah's place of birth is such a very he comes from a very poverty stricken.
Leave him alone. Leave him alone. We'll be back. We'll talk about Nkrumah later. We'll be back about it. Yeah, and you'll explain more about him. Continue, but leave Nkrumah alone. We'll have a special segment for him.
Yes. So people are groomed. People are made to become one. But it is the grooming aspect of it that will show how good a leader will become. Yes, so the grooming aspect is the most important.
The grooming, that's a very, very key and important word, grooming. And I think some countries like Congo, they haven't had this thing called grooming, you know. Grooming is like a chicken, like a hen. When they have these eggs, they groom them until they have now. Bios, what do you have to say about leaders? Is a leader born or made? Do you concur with what my brother just said? Do you agree or you disagree?
For me, I will take both of them. Some leaders can be made, and some leaders, they are born leaders. I know some people, they never go to school. They were not born in a family where they can lead, but they have this in them. When they are born, they are leaders. So for me, I will take both of them. Yes, a leader can be made, and some leaders are born like leaders. You will see someone when he talk, everything he's doing, you will see a leadership in him. And
so according to you, leaders are both born, and made. So these leaders, as you're talking about them, like they have these skills, they have these, like they are born leaders, as you're saying. So according to you, they don't need to be groomed, they don't need to be trained, they don't need to be to have somebody to be mentored, so to speak. You don't think they need to be mentored because already they have all the skills they need?
Yes, they need them, and when they take those help, for them it doesn't take a long time because they have something in them. So it's something which can help them, but they are just born leaders.
It doesn't take a long time because they are born leaders. That's the argument of my brother, and that brings me to another question. What about age? Is age important? I've had people saying, "Oh, we have we have leaders who are so old," and others think we need young leaders. And we've seen even countries trying those young leaders, and they are not doing any better. So is age a factor in leadership, my brother Mike?
Yes, age comes with experience in most cases. So that is one aspect of it. But then also in leadership, it doesn't matter how long the age of the person is to be taken away from how long he has served in leadership position. Yes, we can take somebody who has been in leadership for 20 years, and then we take somebody who has been in leadership for 20 years but is younger, and then somebody who might be an old person but has only been in leadership for about 5 years. Role. So it all depends on the number of years he has been there, because somebody like my president, who has been there for this is the second term, so I mean the 5th year, but he has fought this battle to get to that leadership role, leadership position where he can designate and manage affairs for quite a long time, and he has only been there in the position for just 5 years. But comparing him to some young ones who were there for 20 something years, the achievement of him in this short span is incredible. So it is very complicated to pinpoint exactly whether it matters or it has a big role, but it all depends for me, not the person's age, but the person's time, the duration of his office or position that he has held. That is what I will
Wale
put
ambao
into consideration.
asante sana, thank you so much, asante sana Mike. Wale ambao mnatufuata na labda Kiingereza kinawapita kidogo, tunajaribu kuzungumza kuhusiana na uongozi. Tunasema kwamba uongozi ni mojawapo ya matatizo ambayo tuko nayo katika bara la Afrika. Iwepo ni kwa upande wa siasa, iwepo ni kwa upande wa kijamii, iwepo ni kwa upande hata wa madini, tunapata ya kwamba tuna matatizo chungu nzima. Lakini tuko tunauliza ya kwamba kiongozi ni nani? Je, kiongozi anazaliwa au anawekwa kuwa kiongozi? Na tukawa tunauliza ya kwamba je, umri ni ya muhimu katika kuwa kiongozi? Na ndio majibu ambayo ndugu zangu wako wanipatia hapa. So back to you, Biose. Do you think age is a factor in as far as being leader is concerned? According to my brother Mike, it's age might be a factor only based on the experience. You can be very young but experienced in leadership. You've been doing this and that, and you can be very old but you've done nothing. 50 years of age but you've never worked anywhere. You've never led anything. And so by the virtue of being 50 years, does not help you anyway. I think that's the argument of my brother. Now, what do you have to say about this?
For me, I think the age, it doesn't matter. If you are a leader, you are a leader. It doesn't matter if you are aged or you are young. If you have this leadership in you, you still can do better. The problem we have in Africa, because we have this culture when we think that if someone is older, maybe he can do better. And this is the problem, because they are killing the leadership which is in the young generation, because they just think that if someone is maybe 50 years, 60 years, he can do better. Man, according to me, I don't think so. If you are a leader, you are a leader. It doesn't matter how old you are.
So you're insisting on the fact that you are just born a leader, even if you are 2 years, 3 years, you are still a leader. We will hear from our viewers what they have to say. Do you think a leader, that's a question to you, do you think a leader is born or a leader is made? Now we are going into our question today. I was just watching a video today of a number of leaders on the continent of Africa. And I just want to go very far a little bit, and going back to my brother Mike, who wanted to talk about leaders. There are some leaders who had some characteristics on the continent, leaders who have made the continent what it is. And today we're talking, all of us, we are talking of Pan-Africanism. And everyone talks of Pan-Africanism. But there are two names you can't ignore when talking about the Pan-African movement. You can't ignore the name of Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. You can't, and that was the reason why I invited my brother. You can't ignore the name of Lumumba. And that's why I want us to start to know a little bit about this guy who is dead, but he has refused to die. You know, he is dead, but he has refused to die. So who is he? Who was Kwame Nkrumah? Why was he? Because we talked about the leadership, we talked about being born with skills, we talked about a vision. Who was Kwame Nkrumah? If you can describe him in some few words for those of us who don't understand and don't know him, because in Africa, we learn about other people, we learn about other culture, we now learn about other continents, but we don't know about our own people. Educate us about Kwame Nkrumah. Who is he? You wanted to say that, and I cut you short. I wanted us to discuss this as a segment on its own. Who was Kwame Nkrumah, my brother, Michael?
Yes. Kwame Nkrumah, he is just an ordinary village boy from the western part of Ghana. from a very small village. Yeah. So in the case of Kwame Nkrumah, my brother, I agree with him to a certain extent that leaders are born. But you see, Kwame Nkrumah was also, although he was a born leader, but he was groomed by those who brought him into the political limelight. He was studying abroad, and then they brought him because they needed a general secretary, and somebody recommended that he knows a certain young man who could fit that position. And when he was brought back to Ghana to join them, they were already having the vision of trying to fight for the independence of Ghana. But then Kwame Nkrumah came on board, and then after some time he realized that the way with which these people are trying to go about it is not the best way for him, and therefore he had to go away from them. I haven't been with them for some time, so he went away and then formed his own party, and then he insisted on the free independence now, because those people were saying independence in the possible near future, but he was of the view that the independence must be taken now and then, because that is very characteristic of Kwame Nkrumah. Kwame Nkrumah is somebody that when he fought for the Ghanaian independence, he saw the need for Africa to become one, and therefore was very much precise and insisting on it to be now, because if we let it slide, many actors will come into play and put our plans and all our things into disarray. And this is what we are seeing now. So Nkrumah is somebody who is a born African child who saw the need for the mother Africa, who had been raped and been maltreated for all these years, to be given some kind of joy, to be given some kind of recognition, to be given some kind of love. And therefore, all what he sought to do was to fight for her freedom, the freedom of Africa, the mother Africa freedom was his only vision. And therefore, he brought many actors to it, but that it couldn't materialize in his on his time. But then now, majority of us, what do we see? We see that it is something that is supposed to be, because that is the only way forward. So Nkrumah, in short, is a visionary, is a born leader. Like my brother said, that many leaders are born. He is a typical example of it. But then,
I agree completely that he's a visionary leader, but I'm still seeing him being groomed, as you said, because I was about his education, right?
yes.
I was listening about his education, and I'm told that he studied in those years in the 1940s. Already he had a bachelor degree in theology. He went to the United States, had another degree, master degree of science and education, and he was somebody really who had this urge of learning, the urge of knowing more. And one thing I learned about him, which really shocked me, was that even after he has finished studying in USA in 1942, he was not able to find a job, and he found himself doing this casual job just as today. We can see people coming from the continent, coming here, studying, finishing, and then they end up again cleaning, doing the cleaning job and some shady jobs. And I think this was one of the reasons he decided to go back home and contribute on the liberation of the continent. My question is, do you think this education, because first he was a teacher at a primary school in Ghana, he was a teacher, and then he left, he went to the United States, and then he came back with all this education in 1942. Do you think that education helped him to be a better leader?
Yes, to some extent.
Mm.
Of course, yes. Education makes you see the in and out of certain things that helps you and guides you in your judgment. So for him as a as a as a boy, he thought that we have a proverb in it's a proverb that says that no matter your age, if you have never experienced certain cultures, certain situations out there, you may be 100 years old living in your corner, but you may not be that old. Yes, mentally, or
Yeah.
yes. So he haven't been over there and realizing that wow, this is how things are done at the other end, and this is how we have been doing things the other way around. No, there was the need for him to be able to put all what he has learned into practicality.
So
And
you're saying he leaves Ghana or Africa in general. He sees how people are colonized, how people are being maltreated on their continent. Then he comes in the West here, studies with Westerners here.
yes,
He sees them that they're not superhuman beings; they're just human beings like any other
yes,
human being. And then
yes,
he finishes, despite all this, his education. Nobody is giving him. Do you think this put some kind of revolutionary mind in him to
in
go,
him, yes.
or is a contributing factor that made him go back home and say, "We can't give these people another day"? Do you think that
No,
that helped?
yes, that is what I will go back to what our brother said about a born leader. Most of these people who are groomed, who are although born and groomed, are groomed in a certain direction. But when somebody is born, like Nkrumah, who was born to lead, no matter the grooming, he will always go contrary to the grooming to do what is right for the people. Yes, because our slave masters have always had the need for us, for the puppets that they put in place to toe their way of doing things, which is not the best for the African, because it's not the African way. Because they always try to find a way to discard our way of doing things. And this is one thing that somebody like Nkrumah realized that wow, this is how what is going on over there, and therefore we here who have all this and sitting here with them coming over here, why do we give them this playground to dance to their own tune? And therefore I wouldn't go by that rule. So that is one thing that makes him a little bit different from most of the leaders that we have had over the time. So in short, learning and knowing what happened at the other side made him become revolutionary minded, and therefore decided to take what steps that was supposed to be taken now and then to get whatever we deserved we deserved for us.
Yeah, yeah. I think and that was the chance that, or I can say the good luck that the English-speaking countries had. On the contrary, in countries like Congo, where we had this Belgium, this guy, they didn't even allow people, and I was amazed that in 1940s somebody could have a chance to study up to the university level and have a master's, and he was a nigger like myself here. It amazed me because people like Lumumba, though he was born as a leader, he didn't get this chance of studying. Though he was reading himself as well as somebody who studied primary school, and then he did some few years in secondary, and then he became a poet and an editor and stuff. And because he didn't have a chance, the Belgian did not give him a chance of studying. So he started taking these if it was today we could say online, but distance, long distance courses, you know, correspondence courses, so to speak, because he wanted to enrich himself and to learn more until he was he had a journal, a newspaper, I think. And so I would want to ask my brother Biose from Congo, do you think that the lack of a chance for the Congolese or the people who were colonized by people like the Belgian, because even the French, they were a little bit better. They had people like Sédar Senghor in Senegal, but the Belgian, I don't see them training any person. Do you think it contributed to the goof in which Congo finds itself today? Because we haven't had any leader who have studied as much as we can say they were born, and this one tried his best, but he was killed before his age. Now, do you think seeing what Kwame Nkrumah did, the vision that he had, if you hear the speech that he had in Addis Ababa, during their first African Unity, African organization, organization. What was it called?
Yes,
the AU. Okay, yes, African AU.
OAU, Organization of African
Unity. Yeah, OAU, yeah. So if you hear what he was speaking, he was somebody who knew exactly what he was talking about, even our Lumumba, but he was killed. Likely in Ghana, the president was not killed, even though he was ousted, but he had a clear vision, which we are still struggling with it 60 years after he saw what, even before we were born, he saw what we are living today. And the things he wanted to avoid are still with us here today. Do you think Congo is suffering from this misery, from this bad luck, if I might call it like that, that we had this leader who was also a visionary, who was born a leader, and who tried to train himself the best he could, and he only died 6 months after assuming office?
Yes.
It's you, yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think it was the lack of education for those Congolese leaders. It was a very, very big tragedy for the country. Not only for Lumumba, but all those generations, because we didn't have any people who has this knowledge how to lead the country. Yes, Lumumba, they fight so that they could get this independence, but he was just alone. But behind him, he didn't have those people who could work so that the country could be developed. And it was a very mistake for me. I used to say it, to ask for this independence at that period when people in all the country, they didn't have even maybe 20 people who are educated.
And that's where Kwame Nkrumah will disagree with you. I see my brother smiling. What do you have to say about his comment before we let him continue? Do you think it was so early for Lumumba for independence?
I'm not smiling. And again, contrary to what he's saying, but he's very right on the point that he's making, because a country which was so much down in that IQ level should have been able to put certain people under those people there to be able to be trained and nurtured and groomed to certain status before. So I think that I'm not very sure if that is what he's trying to mean, but let him continue.
Okay,
but
continue with you.
I think he is going to say that there should have been some kind of a formal training or education for them to be able to know how leadership is roles are taken before. So
exactly, that's what I want to say, because we say, okay, those people, they need to leave the country. All the offices, they need to leave. And you just bring someone from somewhere, for him, when to be in the office, he just think, even today, people are still have this mentality. I'm going to the office just to sit and sign papers and just go home. It's not like that. People should get a training. What they are going to do in those offices, those big institutions. Until now.
But I have a question for you, and that's what I was arguing, like saying the countries, the English speaking country, they had some form of transition between the colonizer and the new power. But in Congo, there was not that kind of transition. The Belgians did not prepare anyone in those countries, in Congo, for example, to take over. They were not ready for it, and they didn't have that intention of doing so in the first place, you see. And so I'm asking myself, because of what you are saying, which is I kind of disagree with, like even if we could have given them 10 years or 15 years without the intention of training the people of Congo, what would have changed?
Yeah, it's a very big problem, because if it was me at that time who were at this table to ask for this independence, I could not do as they did. No, they should ask first.
What could I have? What could you have done?
For me, what I could negotiate of those Muzungu or those European, just to train people first. And maybe we could say, yes, we'll get independence, but we still need you, and they could use them.
I was reading, the problem of Congo is so complicated. I don't want us to stay here for a long time. There is something Michael said, and that was the case in Congo. In Congo, there were people who were quote unquote groomed by the Belgian. The people like Moise Chombe, the Kasabubus of this world. These people were trained like more or less like the French they did. You see, like the French, they moved, but because they have trained some people, they made these people sign the pact of continuation of colonization. This pact, we never knew about it. We are now understanding, we are now discovering that this pact was in existence 60 years after. That you pretend like you are independent, but you are not independent. Now, Lumumba was nowhere to be found in those people who were planned to take over the country and to help them continue looting the country and pretend as if we had independence. Now, Lumumba from nowhere, he comes in and he becomes popular and he becomes the prime minister, and then he's killed. So I think that was the first bad luck, I would say, we got, because I don't know if it was bad or it was good, because by him coming, he was not ready to compromise. He wanted to make sure that the people of Congo were free. As he said in his speech, that time will come when the Congolese will write their own history, and it will be a history of glory. And he said, who will forget how many times we were beaten because just simply we were black? And now, my question to you then comes, with the intention that the Belgian had, do you think if they could have proposed them to train people, they could have accepted, or they could have just trained them for them to continue helping them plunder and steal from the country?
Yes, I know they could not do that, because they knew that one day they will leave the country, and this is why they try to destroy everything so that nothing will be left back. But as leaders, this is what we say: a leader must know what is coming. He must see what other people cannot see. And this is where I used to blame Lumumba, because I think he was very, very fast in making those speech, and it was very bad for him because he didn't see what was before him.
Have you ever read the speeches of people like Nkrumah, the speeches of people like Mzee Jomo Kenyatta? They're not different from his speech. But as I said, I think the problem was that he was not groomed. He was not the person they expected.
Yes, that's the problem. You know, Kwame Nkrumah, he could do what he did because he had, how do you call it in French? They call garde-fou. He got help from those Mzungu from England and others. When they give him education, they give him a time to prepare himself. It was not the same for us, because even if today, let me say it, those people, they have nothing good for us. Even today, they are ready to do anything they can do just to destroy. But think those countries who were colonized by English people, I think they are the country which you can see that they are trying. But French people, no.
I'm sorry, my brother Mike. I want to show a video. The comment is in French, but this is what Congo looks like today. Not 10 years ago, not 100 years ago, but today. Look.
François et son frère poussent leur vélo depuis 3 jours. Eux retournent vers Chabunda. Ils ont été acheter de la nourriture beaucoup moins chère à l'autre bout de la piste. Un périple de 140 km aller-retour qui permet de nourrir leur famille.
Je transporte du riz, d'huile et des manioc sèches.
The guy is saying he has oil, he has cassava, he has so many stuff. About 140 kgs, 250 kgs. He has been riding that.
C'est mieux de quitter ce pays. Ça, c'est un pays à souffrir.
That motorbike for 140 kilometers.
Encore les leaders de bonne volonté.
And he's saying this is not a country to live in. We don't have leaders in this country. And we're talking about leadership.
Mon vieux Guillaume.
C'est quoi là, François?
Non, notre huile est tombée sur le soleil et je craignais dès que j'arrive chez la maman, elle va me frapper.
Now the guy is fearing if he goes home without that,
c'est pourquoi j'ai ramassé ça.
His container being full, so the mother will be angry. So see what he's doing, man.
Nous avons consommé celui.
And he's saying we'll still eat this oil.
Et moi, je travaille je travaille à l'Institut supérieur de développement rural.
And he says he works at
avec un salaire vraiment très dérisoire.
I would say a university.
20 000 francs
He's
par mois.
a university worker, but he doesn't get any salary. So he has to do this for him to survive.
Croisent le camion embourbé de Junior vers une.
Yeah. I don't know if my comment was being listened. Could you hear me what I was saying?
Yes, of course. Clearly.
Yeah. So that's Congo for you. Now, as you're working, no road, no infrastructure, no nothing. And then we have misleaders. We have people who call themselves leaders. And we've got this one who has just come in 60 years later. All that interests him is political power for the sake of power. Now, 60 years, for heaven's sake, after independence, what is happening? Those times we didn't have people with degrees. Now we have people with degrees, we have professors, people with PhDs, with master degrees, with bachelor degrees. They're full in that government. But see the level of misery people are living in there. What do you have to say about this, man? Because it makes me angry sometimes.
Yes, too bad. But that is what we find ourselves in the situation now. Because, like we were saying prior, because with Ghana's situation, we have had the opportunity there were countless number of them, not only Kwame Nkrumah. Before Kwame Nkrumah, there had been so many of them who had had the opportunity to travel to the West, and there were some who were taken over there to be trained as priests and other things, who, when they came, they were all back and trying to help with the political struggle. So we had the opportunity to be able to get some form of training before others. So this is the problem we have now. We don't have the capacity now, even in Africa, in so many countries. When you go to Nigeria, you have a host of educated people. When you go to Ghana, we have some. When you go to other places, there are some, but other places are lacking. And this is all due to colonization, because like the Belgians, they didn't, I don't know what they were thinking or what their plan was, because they didn't put in that structure in place, or what that. So majority of us, we have that deficit now. So even when they come in power, like what this guy was talking about, the situation now, see the struggle he has to go through every day to be able to.
Can you imagine riding a motorcycle for 140 kilometers in that mud,
Yes.
and carrying 250 kgs, no electricity, no nothing, no road, no. Tell me, God. And these people, they have MPs, they have a member of parliament, they have governors, they have chiefs, they have all this. I don't understand. I don't get it. And now I was watching a video that was showing the 10 most educated leaders in Africa today. We talked about those who are educated those days. And surprisingly, I will only talk about the two best. Do you know the best? The most educated leader in Africa today? Let me play it for him. The first and the second, I'll play the two videos, and then I'll leave you a comment and then finish this. Here is the second one.
Mutatishwa sana ndugu zangu wa Tanzania.
That's the second one. I don't want to continue with that. The first one is
Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed challenged dozens of his country's disgruntled elite soldiers to 10 press-ups for storming his office with weapons. These soldiers had marched to Abiy's office in Addis Ababa to demand a pay raise. The troops belonged to units deployed last month to repress violence on the streets of Addis Ababa. Abiy's chief of staff, Fitso Marega, later indicated that he listened carefully to the servicemen's claims, but reprimanded them for the poor procedure used to express them. Since his appointment in April, Abiy has carried out major reforms, freeing thousands of dissidents and journalists and making peace with his enemy neighbor Eritrea. But the increase in ethnic clashes in the capital and more remote areas has raised fears that Africa's second most populous country could turn violent. In particular, the military was deployed in southern Ethiopia in August to stop violence that displaced nearly 1 million people.
That was the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed, who is the youngest. That was in 2019. By that time, he was 44 years. Now he's 46 years. He has a master's degree in leadership and a master's degree in business administration and a PhD degree also, I think, in economics and which he got in 2017, and you remember that he is a Nobel Prize winner. This guy, as you can see, those are soldiers who came to invade him because they were angry. They wanted him to increase their salary. But I like his way of dealing with them. When they arrived there, he didn't engage them, he didn't confront them, and instead he goes down and starts pushing them.
Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy.
Then he brings them down, and he's one of the youngest president or leaders in Africa. And I don't know what you have to say about his leadership.
Mutatishwa.
There are around 10. Magufuli also has a bachelor degree in science, in chemistry, which he got in 1988, and a master degree, which he got in 1994, and a PhD degree in the same discipline, which he got in 2009. These were people who are educated. And now when you see what he is doing, you understand that he is educated. Now, in countries like Congo, now my brother was saying, like, a leader does not need to be educated. Our president, his credential academically is in doubt. Nobody knows where he studied, if he has any degree at all. And yet he has been in Europe for 30 years. Now, leading 30 years, man, 30 years, never worked, never studied anywhere, because he said he studied somewhere, but people went and said otherwise. We don't know what's the truth. But if I was studying in a particular university in Denmark, at least I'll have a mic to testify that I know that guy was studying in SDU, he studied in IBA, he studied here and there. So you can't just say I studied somewhere, and then the school comes in and saying he has never been studying here, and then he's leading this country. Now, what do we say? Is it bad luck? Is it chance? What is it? Not only that, there is a guy who was, I don't know if it's luck in Africa or what. I'm pushing those questions to the two of you. If you see this guy, he's somebody at 44. He has all these degrees. He goes to school. He has worked in several places, as my brother said. And then he becomes the prime minister. He has a clear vision and a picture. Now, the president of Congo, for example, was asked the question, when did he get this idea of being a politician? He said in 2017, when his father was sick, he said, I think I could try and do something also and go into politics. Now, Chancellor Loco Pamba, as they say in Congo, he finds himself a president. You know, they just in Congo, there are some funny things that happen in Congo. They just the speaker of parliament, and then they looked at somebody who was older in age in Congo, and then they found an old man who was the oldest in parliament, who was 70-something years. He took like transitionally, because of what the constitution says, that if they have to solve a crisis in parliament, then they take the oldest and the youngest parliamentarian to form the committee which will lead the transition. And then this guy, who is 76, an old man, nobody knew about him, and some two young people, they became head of this transitional body. And then I hear they want to confirm them to be the speakers, and those are the helper in the parliament. Now the question is, did these people have any vision for parliament? Of course, they are parliamentarian, but did they ever thought about leading parliament? Did they have, or is just a chance that is just falling from heaven and then they find themselves there? Brothers, what do you have to say? Because politics in Africa, I don't get anything. I don't understand anything anymore. And that's why Lumumba was saying, we call them even in churches. We give them a microphone. We tell them to speak when we know that they are fools, even in their villages, you know. But we can't call them fools because then they are leading us. They are presidents. They are MPs. They are governors. They find themselves there. What do you have to say about this as we conclude this session? Both of you. I start with you, Jose, Because I think you are familiar to the situation of Congo, and then my brother will conclude.
Yes, it's a very big problem for us as Congolese to be in such situation because we need to find someone who qualified to do something. But in our country, we don't look at that. It's
How
just
did the president find his way to the top, even when you knew that this guy has no credential, that this guy has been in the West for 30 years with no experience? If you ask me about Mike, I'll say I know Mike has worked here and here. I know the places where he has gotten some kind of training here and there. I know. And how did you elect such a kind of leaders? If you talk about his president, he will tell you he was in England here, he started, despite him being a son of a president, but he prepared himself as well to be a leader.
It's a very big tragedy for this country because the way those people are supposed to lead.
Yes, tragedy.
they are not leaders at all. No. Because you can't do, as you explained that what happened in our parliament, just to choose someone because he's the oldest. Yes, we know they have been there, but
what your constitution says, and then they want to confirm him to be the speaker.
It's a very big problem. It is.
My brother, you need to, I don't know if it's praying or doing what, but I think Congo has, I don't know what is happening to that country. Perhaps it should just be divided, or perhaps be dissolved and be just part of Africa, just be Africa, because I don't know. I can't see any future for that country, at least. And I'm saying this not happy, but I don't understand things happening in Congo for sure.
Yes, it is such an unfortunate situation, but it's still not too late because we have those people of like you and my brother there to be able to change the narrative in the next couple of years ahead of us. So, because this is the problems we have been able to identify, and what do? We need to start talking to ourselves and then trying to find those ones who are interested in that areas like politics or whatever, or leadership roles, to be able to start past those, because there are quite a number of us here in the diaspora that it is about time that we start trying to because we have left them off the hook for quite a long time, and we need people now who are being able to identify the problems to be able to start changing the mindset, and then knowing that this is what has been going on all these years. It is just the institution of puppetism. They put puppets in place for us all the time. So it is about time we start getting some training, getting some education ourselves, and then in the next couple of years, we'll be able to start changing the narrative and putting people whom we know have been able to acquire the basics, the needed skills and knowledge to be able to manage and govern a country. Such that I think this is the only way forward for now. But that which is going on there, it is such a shame.
In conclusion, what do you think other African countries can do to help countries like Congo? I don't know if there is any other country, because even Somali, which was in the same situation, they are rebuilding their country. It's not they had a failed state for over 20 years now, but few years that they have started working, you can see that things are happening in Somalia. And I think they have even some roads, not like Congo. Now, what can other leaders in Africa, as we talk about the Pan-African movement of Lumumba, of Kwame Nkrumah, what can they do to help Congo? Both of you, if they can hear us, if the African Union can hear us, if the president of South Africa, of Ghana, of Nigeria, of France, of other African, not France, of other African countries can hear us, what can they do to help Congo? Because the problem of what we're talking about here, even this reality we're talking about, but the people from the same tribe with these kingpins, they don't care that these people, even their own place, they don't have even toilet, they don't have roads, they don't have schools, they don't have water, they have nothing. The fact that they speak the same language is enough for them to support them. And this is the biggest strategy. And for them, they feel we have some kind of support on the ground, so we don't have to do much.
No.
What can Africa do as you conclude with your last words? We are off. I think we have 2 or 3 minutes left.
I think those people who need this leadership, they need to learn from other countries, like Tanzania, like Ghana.
Who are those people? Before even you answer, there's something my brother said, which I wanted to insist on. You see, those of us who are in the West here, Kwame Nkrumah, when he went in the West, the continent was still colonized. You know, he has, even though he was working, cleaning here and there, he could have stayed in America and made his life anyway, but he chose to go back. But those of us, we don't want to go back home. Who will change that narrative then if we don't, based on the advice from my brother? And of course, we want to be all a politician, but we have so many people who could do something, but who are just seated. What do you think?
I think even if in the country, we still can get people who can lead the country, but they don't have the chance to do that. This is the problem. If they can just give them chance to do something for the country, they can do it. But the problem in my country, if you want to show something, you want to do something different from what they used to do, they will kill you. And this is the very big problem.
And if you are intelligent, my brother Mike, that's the strategy of Congo. If you are brilliant in Congo, your own kinsmen, they'll kill you before you become a threat. Or they put you in jail, and the next thing you know, you're gone. But I think all hope is not lost. To you, back to you. Usiende ndugu yangu, utarudia kidogo kuongea kwa Kiswahili. To you, my brother Mike, what do you have to advise African leaders? Because I see like other African leaders, they see the problem of Congo as the problem of Congolese. And for me, even though we are talking about leadership, I can't see how Africa will rise without the Congo rising. Congo is at the center, is at the heart of Africa. It has connections with the West, with the East, with the North, with the South. And it's like the heartbeat of the continent. And intentionally, those who put it there knew that without the Congo moving forward, the continent will have difficulty of doing so. But other neighbors or other African, they don't see so. So what would you advise African leaders who can listen to what we have to say tonight?
The Congo situation is a very unique one because it has to be approached from a very strategic point of view, because Congo is a mother serving the biggest of so-called superpowers, like the French, the France, these people, all these French-speaking, Belgium and the rest. And all these, the Americans that are there, the Chinese, they are there. Everyone is there.
What's a piece of it?
Therefore, every African country who is trying to protect or do something better for the Congolese is a target in itself. So it is a strategy which must be taken by a very big consensus that the whole of the African Union is backing whatever decision that they are going to take to be able to save the situation over there. Because individually, even trying to come out to say something about this situation over there publicly is even a threat to your own stability in your country. because where else in Africa than Congo? There is nowhere where in Africa which has what Congo has. And therefore, those depending on them would love to see them in churches, in poverty, and in such kind of misery, because it is out of that you can be able to exploit them. But for how long will we sit down and say, oh, let them do it? No, we have to only realize that it is only us as African people. Nobody. No, it can take in the next 100 years. Nobody can be able to come and solve or salvage the situation over there for us. So it is about time that we, as African people and African in the diaspora or wherever we find ourselves, be able to know and identify the situation and then tell ourselves that it is an African problem. It is not a Congolese problem. And what do? We, the masses, have to begin to be able to organize down from the down, so that from the grassroots for us to be, because now if we have a grassroots, like let's say me from Ghana, I'm a grassroots person. You from there, we have somebody from Kenya, we have all these people, and then we come to start organizing some groups in our countries to put pressures on our government to be able to come together and forge ahead towards that issue over there. This is what we can do, because it is an African problem. If we have left Congolese to fight for this and it is not working, it cannot be solved because they don't have that capacity. It takes all the African people, because when people realize that no, if this thing is not done over there, you even in power in Ghana risk losing this your seat. It is something they will begin to do, because all these so-called individual nations or whatever states in Africa have become comfortable in their seat. That is why most of them are against African unity, because when they unite, we will only have one president and the rest will be governors or whoever, and they don't like it because they have become lords over their people.
They have been used to power.
Yes. So it is something that I see that it is a problem which needs to be discussed beyond the Congolese people. It is a problem that we have to have a grassroots cooperation, grassroots. We have to, it's about time that we have to voice the situation out to our neighbors and our brothers from different parts of the country, of the continent, to know that this is not our problem. It's not a Congolese problem. This is an African problem. How do we do it? We all put pressures on our so-called presidents from wherever they are, that they should be able to set up and say, push back to all these situations that is going on over there. So I think that is what I have to for now.
Yeah, thank you so much, my brother. Thank you so much. And what he has just said, I don't know if it's true or if it's fear that we only have, because probably you see so many people, normally they say you can't help Congo because your own country will be targeted. And then the people give some justification to countries like Uganda and Rwanda, who instead do also business and work with those who want to get some stuff from Congo, and instead of helping them anyway. But what Magufuli is doing in Tanzania then is making me ask myself a question. Is it that he's just lucky that he's doing what he's doing and talking the way he's talking, and nobody's doing anything to him, or perhaps they have been trying and haven't succeeded? I don't know. So nilikuwa nataka tumalizie kipindi ndugu yangu, turudie kidogo kwa dakika 30 mbele tumalize, kwa sababu niliona watu wakiingia na kutoka, na nafikiri kwa sababu walikutana tunaongea Kiingereza. Sijui kama tukate kidogo turudie kwa Kiswahili au tuendelee tu tumalizie mara moja. Unasema nini?
Tunaweza tu kuconclude tu mkiswahili tu, lakini tunaweza kamata hata kipindi kingine tuifanye kwa Kiswahili hii tu.
Yeah. you can do that. So my question was, my brother, as I was saying, perhaps what you're saying, you were saying it, and I was feeling like, yeah, I understand now why other African leaders do not see like this is a Congolese problem, and we die every day, we die in millions, and this has not started today. That guy, Leopolde, in 23 years, he killed 15 million of us. And today, since 1996 until today, more than 15 million has lost their life. But nobody cares. Nobody speaks about this. And people are dying day after day. And our leaders are not only in the country, they don't give a damn. Our national television or radio, they don't speak about it. We only see these things in the social media. And myself, I've been even, I don't want to share even these pictures because they're so horrible, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's how it is. But thank you so much for talking to us. And but I think based on what we have said here, we were asking ourselves the question: does age matter? Does education, is it important for leadership? And I think to some extent, all these things are a combination that helps us to become good leaders. As much as we might be born leaders, but we still need to be trained. We still need to have networks of like-minded people who could help us at least to be better leaders and have that clear vision, which I think we are lacking in some of our countries. And so we finish this by that speech of our brother PLO. But if you have a last word before we conclude, you are welcome to say it to our viewers, and then we could meet. I think like we had so much to say, and the leadership in itself is a very huge topic. But I hope we can get another time in the course of the week, or perhaps the next Sunday, to discuss more about the same. Any last word to each and every one of you as we conclude? I know also kids want to sleep and they are going to school tomorrow. And we are parents, so I understand that as well.
Yes. So in conclusion, I think we'll have to come to the realization that we have put in misleaders there, and therefore we need to lead them. How do we lead them? We need to lead them by pushing them, by coming together and making clear to them our expectations and agenda towards this solving certain kind of.
All right, I can hear we've lost his voice.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So it is just for us to come together and let them know that it's a high time we take the direction that we want them to take. We push them towards the direction that we want them to take, because it is us who has to lead most of them. Many of them are not leading. They are not showing anything as leaders, and therefore, because the problems that we have struggled with over the years we are still being confronted by the same problems.
60 years later. So Kwame Nkrumah was right all this time, right?
Yes. So we need to know that we, the masses, have to come together and then lead. By so doing, pushing them to go our way. That's it.
We the masses have to come together and lead, because people are tired with what is happening. That's our final word before we hear my brother if he has something to say as we conclude this meeting. For today.
What I will say, I will just ask the Congolese so-called leaders.
Kiswahili tu. Nana ndugu yetu ameenda.
Ya, nitaita wale ambao viongozi wetu ambao wanajiita kuwa viongozi wetu, waangalie kweli kama ni viongozi ambao wanaongoza nchi, na kama wakaona kuna madhaifu wajifunze nazoea kusema wajifunze. Kuna watu ambao wameendelea tu vizuri tu Afrika tu, na sio tu kujifunza Ulaya tu, wanaweza wakajifunza kwa wale ambao wameona wameendelea, na hiyo itasaidia nao wasonge mbele. Sasa hawataki kujifunza na hawataki kufanya kitu chochote. Ndio matatizo ambao tuko nayo Afrika. Na viongozi vile vile wengine wa Afrika waone Kongo, kwa sababu kama Kongo haiendelee hakuna kitu kitaendeka. Kuna mtu ambaye alikuwa anaeleza, anasema unatoka na gari, kama unatoka Nairobi unafika fasi fulani huko bloke, hautaendelea. Unatoka juu kunoro ya Afrika unafika fasi fulani, hautaendelea, sababu Kongo kuna vitu ambao haviendeki. Na usilonta kama hii tatizo ya Kongo iko hivyo, nchi zingine maendeleo itakuwa ngumu Afrika. Na wajifunze kwa hiyo na wapime kusaidia uongozi wa Kongo.
Wajifunze kwa hiyo na wapime kusaidia uongozi wa Kongo. Nadhani ya kwamba itatubidi kwamba tutumie nafasi hii. Nitajaribu kualika watu wengine ambao nadhania wako na influence kwenye continent. Nadhania kwamba kuna watu ambao wanaweza wakaongea, lakini ni juu yetu wa Kongomani pia kuweza kuachana na hii siasa ya sijui naitaga nini, panakwiti. Dada mwingine alisema ya fanatism, ya kwamba huyu mtu ni mtu wa kabila langu, huyu ni mtu anatoka kwetu. Kwa sababu mtu akiingia tu pale kwamba ni mushi, kumekuwa na mamushi wa mingi kwa mfano ambao wamekuwa pale uongozini, wamejitajirisha peke yao, lakini bado kwenye wametoka barabara hakuna, maji hakuna, njia hakuna, vitu kama na zile. Unapata wengine wanasema kiongozi wetu sisi tunatoka Kasai, ukienda kule masomo hakuna, barabara hakuna, daraja hakuna. Wengine wanasema sisi kiongozi wetu ni watu wa Katanga, lakini ukienda kule pia hakuna tofauti kubwa. Ukienda sijui Bandundu hakuna tofauti kubwa. Na umesema kitu ambacho ni cha muhimu sana, ambacho nafikiri inafaa kukizingatia. Si lazima watu waende Ulaya kusudi wafanye uongozi mzuri. Magufuli hajawahi kuishi nje ya Ulaya. Nimesema kwamba alisoma, ukiangalia degree zake zote alipata kwa University of Dar es Salaam. Alipata Bachelor of Science in Chemistry in 88 hapo Dar es Salaam. Alipata masters yake in 94 hapo Dar es Salaam. Alipata PhD yake pale Dar es Salaam in 2009. Na hapo nafanya vitu ambazo watu wengi hawakutegemea angezifanya, kwa sababu anapenda tu nchi yake. Nini kinatufanya kwamba hatuna Wakongomani wenye wanapenda nchi yao? Ni kutokupenda nchi au wanaogopea maisha yao wakiingia pale kwenye kiti? Kauli yako ni ipi ndugu yangu?
Kuna wale wanapenda nchi lakini hawapewe nafasi ya kuweza kufanya vitu ambao wanaweza wakavifanya.
Na ili wapate nafasi wafanye nini basi?
Na hiyo ndio tatizo tuko nayo, kwa sababu hatupatie wale wengine watu nafasi. Utaona mtu amekaa kwa madaraka, wala amekuwa katika ministeri panda 18, hakuna difference yoyote ambayo amefanya, na anabaki hapo, wanaona kama ni haki yake. Sio hivyo.
Amebaki hapo panda 18, naona kama ni haki yake. Labda basi tuongee siasa tu kidogo tunapomalizia. Sasa kulingana na watu wengi, watu walikuwa wanaona kama bwana Kabila ndiye anamaliza na kuharibu mambo ya Kongo, na alikuwa anamzuia rais wetu asifanye mambo makubwa. Na sasa tuliona kwamba watu wote katika serikali ya Kongo wamefutwa kazi, tuseme hivyo. Ule bunge wametoka, premier ministre amedemissione, majorite mpya inajiforme swadiza. Tutegemee nini? Kwamba mbingu zitafunguka, maisha ya Mkongomani itakuwa sawa, au tutegemee nini kulingana na kauli yako tunapomaliza?
Hakuna kitu kubwa kitafanyika, sababu yote inatokana na msingi. Kama umejenga kwa msingi ambayo haisimame, iko tatizo. Hata ungesimamisha nyumba ya gorofa 10, usishangae kuona kama kwa dakika moja yanaweza yakabomoke, kwa sababu haikukuwa kwa msingi ambayo inasimama mzuri. Na hiyo ndio matatizo ya government zetu. Ndio wamejaribu kufanya ile ambayo wamefanya, lakini mengi ingali nawaona, na tuwatazame tu tuone watafanya nini.
tuwatazame tu tuone kile watafanya, na ndiyo maneno ambayo tunamaliza nayo jioni hii ya leo, tukiomba kwamba wakongomani mahali pote ambapo tuko tushikane mkono, tuweze kuangalia ni jambo gani ambalo tunaweza tukalifanya ili tuweze kuona ya kwamba nchi yetu inasimama. Lakini pia katika nafasi za uongozi tumesema ya kwamba ukipata nafasi ya kuweza kujitrain au kujiandaa kama kiongozi itasaidia, kwa sababu wale viongozi ambao tumewaona wote hapa, akiwemo Magufuli, akiwemo Lumumba, akiwemo wale wote ambao tuliwapata, hata wale ambao hawakupata nafasi ya kupata elimu ile formal education kama Lumumba, walitumia njia fulani ya kuweza kujielimisha. Kwa mwisho unasema nini tunapomaliza papa?
Kwa mwisho hatuwezi tukapoteze matumaini. Tunajua tunahitaji viongozi Afrika. Na tatizo ni viongozi tu ambao wako na maono mazuri. Hiyo ndio tatizo tu. Siku tutapata viongozi ambao wana maono juu ya nchi, mambo yanaweza yakabadilika kwa siku chache tu, sio siku nyingi tu. Na tuna matumaini tu kama Mungu angali atatenda kama vile tunaongeaka tu. Tupate kiongozi ambao iko na maoni kabisa mzuri kama vile ya Magufuli Tanzania.
Tumalize na hapo kwenye Magufuli alizungumzia, unapata viongozi ambao wako na maono, hawana woga wowote, hawaogopi ya kwamba sijui anataja maneno kwa ghafla, sijui ni ungepata nafasi ungezungumzia, ila lakini acha tumalize nayo, wale wengine washaipata na wale ambao unaweza kushaiona. Tumalizie hapo, usiondoke, tutaongea nyuma ya kamera kidogo, mkutano ukimalizika tafadhali.
Mtatishwa sana ndugu zangu wa Tanzania, lakini simameni imara. Ninajua wapo baadhi ya Watanzania hata wameondoka ndani ya nchi na kukimbilia maeneo mengine na kwenda kuchanjwa, na walikochanjwa huku wamekuja huku wametuletea corona ambayo ni ajabu ajabu. Simameni imara. Chanjo hazifai. Kama wazungu wangekuwa na uwezo wa kuleta chanjo, hata chanjo ya ukimwi ingekuwa imeshaletwa. Hata chanjo ya kifua kikuu ingekuwa kifua kimeshaondoka. Hata chanjo ya malaria ingekuwa imeshapatikana. Hata chanjo ya kansa ingekuwa imeshapatikana. Ni lazima Watanzania tuwe waangalifu kwa mambo ya kuletewa. Msije mkafikiria mnapendwa sana. If you should see the convoy of an African minister, not a president, I'm not touching the president. The presidents are in a different world. The African minister will never queue. Oh, he's anathemic. Oh, the African minister is a demigod. Oh, Africa.